Episode 15, week 15 usage, and finally we've got some sun out. As usual, the setup is in the description below, and the car mileage is up to 3,609 miles, which works out at 36 miles for the week because I'm now back in work. And since the start of the 2020 logs, we've done 1,748 miles. The generation meter is now reading 29,776 kilowatt hours, which works out at 121 kilowatt hours for the week and 787 kilowatt hours since the start of the 2020 logs. We've not actually had any excess solar to go into the my energi Eddi device this week, or this month in fact, but it's mainly because I've been charging the hot water up directly from the Powerwall early in the morning, because that's when we want the hot water early in the morning. So that's brought the charge of the battery down, which means the sun's only had a chance to charge the battery back up again before the end of the day, rather than putting energy into the hot water tank. The smart meter is now reading 7,572 kilowatt hours, which is only 31 kilowatt hours drawn from the grid for the week, and we've drawn 4,981 kilowatt hours since the start of the 2020 logs. Moving on to the Tesla app and the data from there, we've had some pretty decent sun all week, as you can see. So we've had a home usage of 149 kilowatt hours. The solar's generated 117 kilowatt hours. We've had 60.8 kilowatt hours from the Powerwall. We've pulled 30.3 kilowatt hours from the grid according to the Tesla, so it's quite close to the import meter this week. And we've sent back 1.9 kilowatt hours to the grid. And as for the dailies, that starting from Monday the 6th of April, we had 10.6 kilowatt hours drawn from the grid with 0.3 going back. The Powerwall, we got 6.3 kilowatt hours out. We got 16.3 kilowatt hours from the solar, which I reckon is about being close to being self-sufficient, and we had a home usage of 26 kilowatt hours. And as you can see, all the energy that we drew from the grid was early in the morning, and that's basically because it was cheap on the Octopus Agile tariff. On Tuesday the 7th of April, we pulled 0.2 kilowatt hours from the grid with 0.3 going back, and we had a Powerwall usage of 8.5 kilowatt hours. We generated 21.7 kilowatt hours from the solar, and we had a home usage of 19.7 kilowatt hours. And the Agile tariff was quite expensive on Tuesday, so I decided to use the Powerwall to charge the hot water again. And as you can see from this pattern, we didn't pull hardly anything from the grid. On Tuesday the 8th of April, it's pretty much the same. We only had 0.2 kilowatt hours of pull from the grid with 0.2 going back. We got a little bit more out the Powerwall at 10.6. We had a little bit less solar generation of 17.3 kilowatt hours and a home usage of 19.9. So that left the Powerwall a lot less charged by the end of the night. But we did manage to get straight through, and as you can see, no grid pull hardly at all. On Thursday the 9th of April, we did actually pull 1.7 kilowatt hours from the grid with 0.3 going back. We got 9.4 kilowatt hours from the Powerwall, but that had a lowest state of charge from the beginning of the day because of yesterday's home usage. We only produced 16.8 kilowatt hours of solar, and we had a home usage of 20.2. The grid pull that we did have, the 1.7 kilowatts, came from late afternoon before the peak times on the Agile tariff, and that's because they were really cheap. So I just took advantage of topping up the Powerwall on the cheap electricity. On Friday the 10th of April, we had a grid pull of 8.4 kilowatt hours with 0.1 going back. We only got 3.8 kilowatt hours from the Powerwall, and we had a solar generation of 18.1 kilowatt hours, and the home usage was 21 kilowatt hours. The 8.4 kilowatt hours we drew from the grid was all first thing in the morning again when the Agile tariff was cheap, and that's not because the Powerwall had run out the night before. I literally just held charge because it was cheap power. I just took full advantage of it. On Saturday the 11th of April, I pulled 3.5 kilowatt hours from the grid with 0.3 going back. We drew 9.7 kilowatt hours from the Powerwall. We had a solar contribution of 18.2 kilowatt hours, and the home usage was 20.4 kilowatt hours. The power that we did pull from the grid was very cheap in late afternoon, just before the peak times again, so we just topped up the Powerwall again. On Saturday the 12th of April, we pulled 5.7 kilowatt hours from the grid with 0.4 going back. We took the most from the Powerwall of the week on Sunday of 12.5 kilowatt hours. We only produced 9.4 kilowatt hours from the solar, which explains why we took so much out of the Powerwall, and we had a home usage of 21.9 kilowatt hours. A lot of that usage came from the fact that late on Sunday night the prices went negative, so that big spike at the end of this picture you can see when the prices went negative. I charged the Powerwall, and I even kicked up the electric boiler to heat up the water, which is quite unusual. And the other bit of grid usage was late afternoon again, and that was just to top up the Powerwall to make sure we got through the peak times. And the result of the Agile tariff being extremely cheap this week and a lot of solar being produced has meant that we've had our last 30 days have only cost us £33.76 for 656 kilowatt hours. And finally, the gas usage, we've used 6.9 kilowatt hours this week, which was a total cost of £1.43 including the VAT and the daily charge, which has brought our yearly cost of gas to £19.92 to date. As usual, thanks for watching, and please like, subscribe and share.